I feel like the last couple of years you've like purposely picked this fight with the red states. I mean, the DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War country.
I agree with that.
You know what? Well, but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, this is a blue state and that's a red state.
Yeah. You got folks out there trying to bring us back to a pre-1960s world. America in reverse, rolling back voting rights, LGBTQ rights, women's rights, not just access to abortion, but contraception. I mean, it's a profound and consequential moment. And you could sit by and say, well, I really want to get along, as these guys are rolling back the clock.
Bill Maher didn't hold back during his heated exchange with Gavin Newsom on Real Time with Bill Maher. And honestly, it caught me off guard. Maher has been pretty outspoken against the woke movement lately, but I didn't expect him to challenge Newsom the way he did. He put the California governor in a tough spot, pushing him to defend himself, and it turned into a serious back and forth. So, what exactly went down? And who had the upper hand in this intense debate?
Governor gave this creepy speech where he was talking about speculators coming in and talking about what to do with the land of all these homes that have been burnt down.
We're dealing with a myriad of issues. I was just talking to Josh Green, the governor down in Hawaii, who had some ideas around some land use concerns he has around speculators coming in, buying up properties.
While it's still only 6% contained, and he did this little dance.
All right, let's dive into this clip where you can practically feel the tension in the room. Bill Maher hits Newsom with a relentless stream of questions, and the audience? You can tell they're stunned. Meanwhile, Newsom is in full defense mode, trying to dodge and deflect. You can actually see him scrambling to keep up.
Be good at the job. Not this year, we know. No, I know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but no, this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but he doesn't think you can win. What do you say to that if you could win look at the swing states, there's only 8 of them.
And Newsom tries to explain his position here, but let's be real. It doesn't go well for him. Instead of clearing things up, he just ends up making himself look worse.
Well, I mean, California is an interesting case study, isn't it? It's the size of 21 state populations combined.
Yeah.
2/3 of the state is very deeply red. We don't need to be lectured on rural politics or border issues. I mean, in so many ways, these are familiar issues, and the issues of the heartland of the United States are very much a part and parcel of the work we're doing in this state. But look, I understand this notion that you're from the coast, you don't understand those things, you can't talk the language, you're not able to communicate, and you're not able to actually encourage and find that common ground.
It's stuff like there's a new law in this. I think we have way too many regulations and laws, as we've talked about, and this one, I think, says if you're a department store with over 500 employees, you have to have a gender-neutral toy department.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, I get it.
So you think that's silly? You think that's a silly thing that we too much government there?
If you were really listening, you could hear the audience gasp when Maher hit Newsom with that question. No one saw it coming. He called out that questionable state legislation, and you could see the shock on Gavin's face. His voice even faltered for a moment as he scrambled for an answer. Maher had him backed into a corner, and there was no easy way out. But, of course, like any seasoned politician, Gavin did his best to spin it.
Look, that's an interesting one because the department stores came to us supporting that, and they were the ones making a case for that. They were making a case they're already moving in that direction.
Wanted you to make a law about them?
Well, but they supported the legislation. It wasn't legislation that was enacted, that was initiated from my office, but it was legislation that came up with interesting support from the industry itself. But I understand how that's exploited, and good people can disagree. But that's not something we woke up and said, this is a top priority for the state, when we know the top priorities are homelessness, housing, the issues of crime, quality of life, and issues related to regulation and taxes, which are all top of mind. But I get how those things are a weapon.
The question was straightforward. Does Newsom think the government is overreaching by forcing toy companies with over 500 employees to create a gender-neutral section? But instead of giving a direct answer, because that would be too easy, Gavin took us on a long-winded detour. He kept talking about how department stores are supposedly on board with the idea, but that doesn't actually address the issue. Classic. Politician move. This is what happens when left-leaning politicians try to defend their own policies. They dodge, deflect, and hope no one notices the inconsistencies. But Maher wasn't about to let him off the hook that easily. Watch how Bill starts by buttering Gavin up just a little before going in for the real challenge.
All right, so one, I got you here because I live here and I'm not going anywhere. So I just want to make this a better state like everybody else.
Amen.
And good job this year making it rain.
You're welcome. That was my legislative priority.
Bill throws in a bit of praise, and you can see Gavin squirm. He knows something's coming. And he's right. You can even hear that awkward chuckle ripple through the audience. They feel it too. They know their so-called golden boy is about to walk straight into a rhetorical buzzsaw. Newsom, ever the smooth talker, was gearing up for his big mic drop moment. But Maher beat him to it. And when it landed, it wasn't just a mic drop, it was a full-blown wrecking ball. Gavin flailed, the audience cringed, and Maher, he just leaned back and watched the chaos unfold like he was enjoying front row seats to a train wreck.
And we still don't have enough water in the Colorado River and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then whenever I read, 80% of the water goes to agriculture. Almonds.
Right.
No one ever asked you about almonds? Oh, I'm going to ask you about almonds. We grow a boatload of
I'm
almonds
well
here.
aware.
You know how much water it takes?
Many gallons.
1,900 gallons to grow a pound of almonds. Yeah. Come on, man. Take on big almond.
Take on big almonds.
I mean, it's not like we don't have the water.
Another brilliant move by Maher. For years, California officials have been warning about water shortages, claiming the rivers just can't handle it. But surprise, surprise, investigations found there's actually plenty of water. The real kicker? A staggering 80% of it is being drained by almond farming. That's right, almonds suck up as much water as all indoor household use combined. And to make matters worse, they only contribute a measly 2% to California's GDP. So Maher's question was simple. What is Newsom doing about the water crisis? Now, sit back and watch as Newsom dodges, deflects, and spins his way through the answer, like he's auditioning for Dancing with the Stars.
Extreme years with these atmospheric rivers. Wets are getting a lot wetter, dry's drier, hot's getting a lot hotter. And so we've got to modernize our conveyance system. We've got to modernize our storage, not just above ground, but below ground. And so that's a big part of our focus and frame, including desalinization plants. We have 20 projects just on desal that we're working on today. So we put out a detailed water strategy that includes, by the way, getting that Delta Conveyance project back up and operational, and includes the first above ground off stream storage facility in half a century in the state, which, by the way, is being aided by a regulatory package I pushed forward to reduce red tape in the state of California and address the permitting quagmires that you rightfully point out.
Did you catch that word salad? Because I sure did. The question was simple. What is Newsom actually doing about the almond crisis? But instead of a real answer, we got a long-winded detour about rainwater storage and some vague water management plans. Yada, yada, yada. Here's the truth. California isn't running out of water. The real issue is that a massive chunk of it is being funneled into almond farming. But rather than address that head on, Newsom did what politicians do best, drown the conversation in jargon and hope no one notices the lack of substance. Even Bill Maher couldn't keep a straight face. He knew exactly what was happening. Newsom was trying to sound clever, or at least attempting to. But credit where it's due, Maher wasn't letting him off the hook that easily. And that's why I respect him. He's one of the few willing to call out the hypocrisy of the left, even from within their own camp. This interview made one thing crystal clear. The woke crowd doesn't care about real solutions. They push whatever narrative fits their agenda, dodge accountability, and then congratulate themselves for a job well done. But the second they're forced to explain their logic, it all crumbles, like a gluten-free cookie at a Berkeley coffee shop.
I'm telling you, you're good at this job. Okay, but I feel like the last couple of years you've purposely picked this fight with the red states. I mean, the DeSantis. Yeah, but I don't want to live in the Civil War country.
I agree with that.
You know what?
Well,
but you seem like you purposely want to set up this dichotomy between, this is a blue state and that's a red state, and I don't want to live in that country. I like Florida.
I'm with you. And by the way, I like Florida as well. I like all these states. I completely agree. I don't want to have a state of mind that's a constant fight or flight. We've gone through so much. We've been polarized and traumatized. It's been a tough 5-6 years across the globe, not just in this country. That said, I'm not going to sit back and watch. You made the point just a moment ago in your monologue. You got folks out there trying to bring us back to a pre-1960s world. America in reverse, rolling back voting rights, LGBTQ rights, women's rights, not just access to abortion, but contraception. I mean, it's a profound and consequential moment. And you could sit by and say, well, I really want to get along, as these guys are rolling back the clock, or you can stand tall and assert yourself. And the reason I started to go into those red states, the reason I started to take on DeSantis, and the reason I started doing ads in these red states is I didn't feel my party was doing enough. It was CRT one year, and then it's ESG, and it's DEI, anything with 3 letters. These guys keep coming, and they're shape-shifting.
And here we go again. Another woke sermon straight from the playbook of progressive nonsense. But the real kicker? Newsom somehow managed to sum up everything wrong with woke culture in just 1 minute. That's almost impressive. He even went so far as to call anyone who questions this ideology shapeshifters and accuse them of dragging America back to the 1960s. Because, of course, in the minds of the woke mob, if you dare to push back against their agenda, you must be some kind of time-traveling bigot. These are the same people rewriting basic concepts of reality, and don't even get me started on their most extreme crusade, pushing kids into gender transitions. They're telling children, kids who can't even decide what to eat for lunch, that they're somehow mature enough to make life-altering medical decisions about their bodies. And if parents dare to question it, they're labeled intolerant, or worse, a threat. This isn't about progress, it's about control. And Newsom, like the rest of the woke elite, is leading the charge. Honestly, I'm not even surprised anymore. But you know who was caught off guard? Joe Rogan. You could see the shock on his face when he heard this take.